now we come to our third theme, which focuses on the social and environmental impact of work. To start with, we have an interview with Nobel Peace Prize Laureate Muhammad Yunus, who you of course heard from at the beginning and the start of the program. So now he speaks at greater length to Adam Smith.
Professor Yunus, welcome to our dialogue at the University of Pretoria.
Thank you for inviting me.
So if we take the theme of social impact, it's been your life's work, both at the individual level, empowering people through microfinance, and also at the wider societal level, as you've initiated social businesses. If we start at the individual level, what is it, do you think, that is so special about giving people the opportunity to work?
Well, let me first talk about the social impact part that you started out with. Everything you do has a social impact. So this is nothing new. What you really mean by social impact is social positive impact, because there are a lot of social negative impact. So that has to be distinguished when we say social impact. And then I want to say that each action may have both impact, some negative impact, some positive impact. So we have to say, what is the overwhelming part of it? Overwhelming part of it is a negative impact, and a small part of it social impact. And you just focus on the social positive part and say, hey, it's doing social impact. I will not accept that. So simple word social impact doesn't mean anything to me until you have clarified which part of the impact you're talking about. Is it a minuscule part of it as a social positive impact? Or it's a measured part of it, your desperate attempt to have its measured part of it as a positive impact, and you're desperately trying to control the negative impact. That's not what we see, what happens in the world. In the name of social impact, they go on mercilessly making negative impact. So that's why I'm very suspicious of that, the social impact part of it. And the work, yes, work is very important for life, for everybody. And again, work has to be defined. What is the work for? Work has to be something which is a prerogative of each individual. It's not something imposed by somebody else. And I made the point about the slavery and the work. It's a work. And I can extend it by saying that even a job is, I would say, is a refined version of a slavery. It's because you take orders from somebody else. It's not something that you enjoy. You do it for your survival. Mostly job is done by quote unquote survival. Some survival level is very low level survival, some at the mid-level survival, high level survival, and something like that. But you do it because that's what your life is all about. You want to make a living out of it. Somebody pays for it, and you accept that obedience that you have to pay to the person who has employed you. So that is not the work that I have in mind. Work is something comes naturally to human being. It's not by orders. It's not by force. It's because I enjoy it. This is my way of living a life. So this is the work that I would focus on, not the work as a whole, because I don't accept all the varieties of work that we have in front of us.
And certainly that's an ideal situation and one to be very much hoped for. But I suppose some might argue that the difference between unemployment and having work, even if it's work that other people are telling you to do and you don't much want to do it, is still important, that it brings us, that even that sort of work can bring a sense of dignity where unemployment removes that dignity. Or would you disagree?
Sure, it's true, it's true. You can extend that argument. You say slavery also gives you protection. It gives you to eat. Otherwise you'll be dead, you'll hunger. So you accept it. So that logic doesn't go very far. You have to define what this work is all about. It's not about taking obligatory submission to somebody else. So real human being to me, the reason I'm telling all this, the real human being to me is an independent being. It's a free being. And he or she is not working under somebody else. That's very important for me. I said, ever since we are born in this planet, we were hunters and gatherers. We are not job seekers. And that we have done for thousands of years. So being independent is in our deep inside of our DNA. It's in our gene. Job came much later, when we settled down, when we had farming, when somebody had more land and I don't have anything, so he pushed me into doing things for him. Then that question of relationship between you have more and I have less thing came. Until then, there was no such a thing. So it's an artificial creation. Job is an artificial creation. Natural human being is an entrepreneur. So I said, it's all the thing that we raise in the work and all the thing we're saying is because of the wrong education. In our school system, you're now in the university campus. I talk about my university campus where I used to teach. Same thing. We are teaching people or even young people in every single subject with one intention. So that by the time you finish your school, you get your diploma, you get a piece of paper, you are a job-ready person. See, intention is to make you job-ready. And in education institutions pride themselves that we are creating job-ready young people. I said, that's a shame. Why should we make slaves out of our young people? Why don't you say we are creating life-ready young people? Life is very different from job. So I want to be an entrepreneur. You are not giving me a scope. You say, no, you have to have a job. So you give all the young people an opportunity to decide whether they want to be a job seeker or into an entrepreneur, and give all the facilities so that if I want to be an entrepreneur, and that's what I want to enjoy, and this is the path that I follow, and all the things will follow after that, because that thing will naturally bring you to the financial system immediately, because finance is the oxygen for entrepreneurship. So schools where we're teaching young people to become entrepreneur, they should also have facilities waiting for them, telling the young people that as soon as you come with a business idea, here we are waiting for you to finance you. Finance is not your problem. Finance is our problem. We want to make sure that should not stop you from being an entrepreneur. We become job seeker today because financial system doesn't come anywhere near the young people. They will just throw them out from their offices and wherever they are, because who are you to ask for the money? So the whole financial system is aimed at the people who already have lots of money. So the system is built in the wrong way. That's why we have to go and work for those people who got the money from the banks, and now they are hiring us to work for them. If I had the access to the finance, I would not be working for them. So as I said, all human beings are entrepreneurs. I said, job is absolutely the wrong creation. Job has destroyed us. Job, what is done, since you don't have anything else except job, because that's what your economic system says. So we became some kind of mercenaries. We train our young people to become mercenaries, to work for those people in the 99% wealth, those who possess. We work for them. So we collect wealth for them and pass it on to them. They give us a little money so that we can feel happy. We have a retirement benefit, we have promotions and all that. So that's the wrong system. So if we had become entrepreneurs, which we are, except for wrong teaching in our head, drilling into our head that you have to go and work for somebody. If we become entrepreneurs, then we pick up our own wealth and we don't work for them. If we don't work for them, they cannot become super rich. They become super rich because we work for them.
In some ways, you must find it ironic that people talk all the time about the replacement of people's jobs by technology, when the way you define most people's jobs, they are simply machines themselves.
That's right. That's what I'm saying about the unemployment. Mm-hmm. I said massive unemployment is waiting for us because of the artificial intelligence. Mm-hmm. When artificial intelligence is an exponential growth, we are in the very low end of it, but soon it will become exponential, and we'll be all out of our job. You will be out of your job, I'll be out of my job, because there'll be better artificial intelligence interviewing me. There'll be better guy who will be answering that question.
No, I think you'll last longer than me, but there we
go. Whichever profession you are in. My point is, whichever profession we are in, artificial intelligence will do better than what we do. Whether we are artists, whether it's a poet, whether we're singers, they will do a better job. So human beings will become a surplus, excess animals on this planet. And planet doesn't accept anything in excess. They had a mechanism to get rid of it. So we'll be gotten rid of it because we'll become the garbage of this planet. We have no role, we have no purpose, nothing. So I said, before machines do that, we have to ask ourselves, Is this what we want? Is this the technology that we want to replace all of us? Or we take it as a curse? Technology can be a curse. Technology can be a blessing. But this artificial technology, which replaces me all along, across the board, is a curse. And we must find a way to stop that, because it's our own creation. We have done that. So why don't you stop creating it? If we understand that clearly, that this is, which is coming, will completely destroy us from this planet. Will be over, finish.
And that question you ask is so important. Is that what we want? Is this what we want? We seldom stop to ask ourselves whether we are actually doing what we want as humanity, I guess.
Right, it's true, exactly. Because we are mesmerized. We are addicted to money, because that's what we have been trained in our schools. That's what our teachers told us. This is the world life is. Your success is make money. Nothing else matters. So we are addicted people. Addicted people has no judgment. So they will destroy ourselves because we are addicted. So we have to regain ourselves as a human being, not money-making machines. That's the difference we have to make. When we become a human being, we'll start looking at, we have our own eyes, we can see things, we decide what is the purpose of our life. That's a question naturally come to us. Once we explore what is the purpose of our life, everything will fall in place. The purpose is what matters, not how much money you make, what you do. That's immaterial completely. Once we define the purpose of our life. And that's what the education system should be geared to encourage and facilitate the young people to find the purpose of their life. And then accordingly, whatever the purpose is, they should be given all kinds of knowledge so that they can fulfill and they can achieve the purpose of their life.
Thank you, Adam, and thank you, Muhammad, for an incredibly thought-provoking conversation right there, especially the part about, as human beings, we focus on being money-making machines instead of focusing on purpose. So that's incredibly thought-provoking. So thank you for that. So our final discussion of the morning addresses the impact of work on society. For this, we are delighted to bring together three panelists. 2019 laureate in economic sciences, who is Abhijit Banerjee, and also we have the former CEO of the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, Nicky Newton-King, and Sharmi Surianarian, who is Chief Impact Officer at Harambee Youth Employment Accelerator in Kenya. Their discussion will be moderated by Silla Myberg, who is Director of Enrollment and Student Administration at the University of Pretoria. So Silla, we look forward to the discussion.
Hi everyone, I'm very happy to be here today and to moderate the session with you. Welcome Nicky, welcome Sharmi, and welcome Abhijit. The interview you've just seen with Muhammad Yunus has set the tone for our discussion today, and he talks now about life readiness versus job readiness, and that the future of work is not necessarily this finding a job seeking in the employment ecosystem, but rather entrepreneurial spirit or looking for opportunities to create work. It might be controversial to say that the future of work is not job seeking, but it's only controversial because we're uncomfortable about it. We don't talk about it, and especially in a country of such high unemployment rates. I was wondering if we could talk about actions that might lead us to this future world of work where it's about meaning and about purpose and about changing the world. And in that light, I'd like to ask you, Nicky, what would you change in our current world to lead to this future world of work?
Yeah, Cecilia, thanks very much. As challenging as Mohammed's perspectives are, I think it's completely consonant with what we're hearing from the youth. In fact, even the youngsters that were interviewed earlier on today, but also this whole question of purpose-driven employment and the drive in business schools and others, and even in our own business, for management to talk about things that are beyond just the bottom line. So, I think that the first thing we need to change is what we think about our work as work. I think we tend to somewhere else to be paid for to do. And in fact, if anything, one of the things that is coming out of the pandemic time is how much insight we have into our colleagues, other things they do. It's not just what they're doing for us in the workplace, but they're looking after their families, they're close to their parents, etc., etc., etc. And I think we're suddenly appreciating with far more focus the reality that there is much more that we do that is important to us as individuals. And I was saying earlier, the youth get it. They talk about purpose, etc. They want to have acknowledged the fact that it's more. There is more to them than just what they get paid for. And I think that the benefit of that is, as employers, we may start to think a little bit more in a nuanced basis about what we expect, and it isn't just the biggest salary and the most billable hours, but also that we will start a society to value those things that we don't see, caregiving at home, the housekeeping, all of these things that are part and parcel of work. And as soon as we care for them and value them properly, I think we will start to regard that as decent work and want to remunerate it as decent work. And by that, I think we also start to change who we think about as part of our employed workforce and people adding value to the economy.
Thank you, Nicky. I think that's a very important contribution, this whole movement towards really making a difference. And it's a sphere. It happens and it starts escalating and it moves out, and we all eventually contribute to changing the world. I'd like to ask you, Abhijit, what would you stop if you could have an action that you would stop leading to the future world of work? What would you stop?
I must say I mostly disagree with Mr. Yunus. I think he has it backwards. I think that what we should really stop is this, well, many things, but one of the things that I think we have to remember that people to have meaning, we need jobs that are not necessarily going to be remunerative on their own. I think this will require an entire rethinking of the financing of jobs. So one thing I want to break the link between how much you get paid and what you're producing. I think that's critical, because I think the market's valuation of the things that might be actually most valuable to society are often wrong. And I think thinking in a frame of entrepreneurship and marketing your services seems to me to be the wrong way to think about it. I think we need to bring the state back into this conversation in ways that we haven't, for many years, we're so shied away from thinking about the role the state can play. Now, so my sense is that I think there are lots of, around that, I think there's a whole culture of what is valuable and what is not, what is cool and what is not. And I think when you go from having worked for many, many years with small-scale entrepreneurs, I would say that it's not a job they love. You ask them what they would want, they want a job. They actually don't want to be entrepreneurs. In fact, 85% in our survey say we don't want to be entrepreneurs. And in fact, 0% say actually they want to be entrepreneurs. But let me not get bogged down in that. But it's I think what people are looking for is sort of what the vision we project is entrepreneurship, exciting, but in fact what they see as entrepreneurship is I'm selling candy on the public transportation, and that's not exciting. And I think what we need to do is create a better sense of what is valuable in those activities, and rather than I did something and I made some money. I think if we don't break that link between making money and people's reaction to you and people's reactions to themselves, I think we're never going to get past this point. I think the number of meaningful jobs that will be paid through market sales is dwindling and will continue to dwindle.
Thank you, Abhijit. That's a very interesting. I'm happy you didn't say you should stop me. and that you had a proper answer instead of... Sharmi, I'd like to ask you, what would you create if you had this opportunity to create something that would change also the future world of work for us?
Thank you, Sila. Look, I have to say that my position sort of between Muhammad and Abhijit, I think. So I think there's definitely room for entrepreneurship, and we have on the African continent for sure, not enough formal sector jobs that are going to be generated in the next few years to accommodate the 12 to 15 million young people that are going to enter the labor market. On the flip side, Abhijit's absolutely right. The state has to be involved, and I don't think markets alone are going to solve this issue. I think that the real solution is about linking people to opportunities. What's missing, young people are working every single day. They are, it's very expensive to be a poor young work seeker, no doubt. What we're missing right now is line of sight to opportunities, linkages to opportunities, and valuing what young people do on a daily basis, whether it's entrepreneurship, whether it's volunteer work, whether it's care work, like Nicky also mentioned. What I do think is critical is not to think of skilling as a long, lengthy process in a series of qualifications that are hard, but rather let skilling be the shortest, cheapest, fastest route to work. And Abhijit's absolutely right. I think it's everyone does want an aspiration for a formal sector job. But in the absence of that, let's dignify the side hustle. Let's make our institutions value entrepreneurship as well. So what I would create is a system of linkages that allows young people's work to be seen, that young people can actually see opportunities themselves. And rather than locking people out of opportunities, which I think every single system is designed to, our education system, our skill systems, our job systems, our sorting systems, they are designed to give us a list of 1 through 20 rather than telling us these are the capabilities that young people possess to bring to the marketplace or to bring to society. Let's value the full potential and create an inclusive pathway management system that we, for example, at Harambee have done in partnership with the government. And I think that's where I completely agree with Abhijit that states have to be central in the solution of this triple failure between markets, states, and the private sector. So what I would create is a system of linkages such that young people that are typically left on the margins of society, who do so much work that are not recognized on a daily basis, that can have line of sight to opportunities and can link to opportunities to actually increase their income going forward.
Thank you very much, Sharmi. That's also very valuable for us, especially having all these young unemployed youth in South Africa, the NEETs, not employed or in education and training. I think what it all boils down to is this thing about how we define work, because all of you in a way has touched on that. What is work? Whether it's then how we see it, how we link it, or it's not necessarily entrepreneurial, it's how we're going to look at the future of work depends really on how we're going to define it. And that is the difficult question to really answer. I would like to ask each of you if you have a final comment, because unfortunately we just don't have time to talk about this the whole day, but I think you have so much to add. So I'll ask you, Abhijit, would you like to have something in closing?
That we continue to have a little longer conversations about these things. I think these issues are so central to the future, not just of our young people, but of the world, that if we shouldn't have 15-minute conversations about them.
That's maybe what we should have stopped, right? To say not 15 minutes, but an hour. Nicky?
Yeah.
It's interesting. We haven't talked about crowding in diverse views. We haven't talked about how, when we can actually, if you talk about the social impact of work and future, I think there's a big role for leaders at not just business, not just the state, but generally to think beyond just their normal group and to broaden that thinking, because I think if we do that, we will really have a better chance to solve the big problems of the future. And I think there's something there also that sets a different qualitative aspect to the work that people then do get involved in if they're working with people from very diverse backgrounds, countries, etc.
And with technology, it's possible. For the first time ever, we can really access so many things that we couldn't have done before, like us having this conversation today. It's really possible. Sharmi?
So if I were to say one thing to close, I think that young people across the world, especially in Africa, are working incredibly hard. I don't think we've, at Harambee met a single young poor work seeker that isn't working hard. So my request, I think, is let's change the system to value, to recognize the work that is being done, whether it's care work by a young person at home or volunteer or the hustle. And let's make that valuable to the marketplace so that they can gain income security in their future.
Thank you very much. I really appreciated your time and insights. Thank you.